Now we want to put the baby in. So if you have half a moment to actually fuss around with your ring sling before you pick up your child, that's worth it, and this is what you would do. So first thing I do, I start at the rings. Now when we tighten, often the rings will start to come down and slide a bit. So to counter that, you want it as high up as you can as a starting point, not on top of your shoulder. For some reason that just never worked for me. So I just want it just over my shoulder so that when I tighten things and it drops, it's not going to come down very far. So I start off making sure, and it's all spread out nicely on my shoulder, so it's not all caught up and it's sitting comfortably how I'd like it at the end. Second thing to do is I now go back behind me and I pull this all tight. I make sure that this is not twisted. It's flat and tight across my back and it's not gathered or twisted or puckered or anything like that. So I pull all the excess slack from the back and bring it around. Now there's two reasons for that. One is that means I can see where the slack is when I want to tighten it around my child. And the second reason is when there's a bit of slack back there, it means this is more slidey, and you're more likely to pull your rings down too far. Okay, so and it also means you know if it's spread out nicely and not twisted and not having a funny gather, it's going to be uncomfortable later. So take a moment, make sure it's nice and spread and tight on the back, so you've got your excesses here where you can see what you've got to deal with. Then, if you have time, if baby is still being kind, this is a really good time to make sure this bottom edge is a little bit tighter than the top edge in terms of space, because this is going to hold the baby. Now, here's my baby. So when your baby is in the ring sling, the bottom edge is actually going to be up under their knees. And then there's going to be the hammocky kind of the fabric's going to go down around the butt and then up the back, and then the top edge is up here. So you actually want the inside bottom edge, instead of being down low, you actually want it up about here, and so a bit higher, and then the bit more slack, so then the fabric will bag down a bit and come up to where the baby's going to be. So if you have time, at the moment my bottom edge is too loose. I don't want it down here. I want it to be up about here, and then the rest of it can flop over the top and make that bag kind of pocket. So I'm going to tighten this outside edge is the one that's is the bottom edge over here. So I will just pull that in, and so now as you can see that's coming up tighter. I'm going to pull it in a little bit more because I know I have a small baby to go in. So as you can see now, this is the tight edge, and then the rest of the fabric is looser to flop down over it. And this top edge can be quite a bit looser, loose enough just for you to work your baby in comfortably, because then you can tighten that up after the end and it's fine. So this can be a little bit more loose. I wouldn't go crazy loose because all the slack you have will have to come out, but plenty of room for a baby. Okay, so now I'm nice to double check this hasn't slid again with all your manoeuvring. Okay, let's get the baby. I was just pausing for a second to think which way we're going to put them in. I'm going to put them in the chest to chest snuggled, this kind of a position, because this is the most common way that people like to put babies in a ring sling. So it's replicating this sort of chest cuddle where your ring sling is going to take the place of that up. So up on the burping shoulder. Now what we want to do is bring the feet all the way through. So I like to put my hand through, capture those feet and guide them out under. That was much easier than the other way people often do of trying to poke the feet through, and as you can see you end up with fussing and mucking around. So even with my ginormous 6-year-old, it's still easier to tilt. If you tilt the hips, tilt the bum up so the legs are free, and then as they get taller you just tilt them further and then the legs will dangle down and they come. Okay, now we want her to be sitting in it, so don't forget we're going to keep those knees up. Can you see? Knees up and butt down. You can, depends on your preference how you want to make this work. So some people would rather have the fabric up over the back before they start fiddling around getting the set ready. Other people actually use this, keep it all down here like a rope, and then the baby's butt is hanging right over it, which feels really scary when you're doing it with a small baby. So if that's not comfortable for you, don't worry, you don't have to. but what we're looking for is ultimately at the end, this fabric was going to be up around it, keeping her nice and safe, but her knees are going to be up, the bulk of the fabric's in the back of the knees, and her butt is going to be hanging down, and then this pocket, the ring sling, will hold her in a hammock in this position. This is what we're aiming for with the fabric. So we'll go back to old style. You don't want the excess up here, the excess lives down here, so we only want what we need up the back. Okay, so again I keep pulling my excess through, so if I need to tighten it a little bit, I just tighten a little bit here, and then I'm getting the baby to sink into this nice little pocket. Now if you don't get it, I'm trying to imagine she's a young baby with her knees quite close together. Still, you don't have to get her seat perfect at the very first instant you put them in. You can readjust as you go. So we've got her seemingly knees up and butt down, and now I'm just going to bring this excess at the top here. You see it's way too loose, of course. So we're going to bring this around, and then I've just got this bit to fiddle with. And so my hand's on my baby, and it's easy to then just gently tug this, and you try and tug back in the line of that edge. So this edge is still coming like that. I don't drag down, I don't drag up, I'm just dragging a little bit gently like that, and that's easier. Now we've got a little bit of excess in the middle there to catch up with. It can hang, it's fine, or if you like it to look pretty, just tug through these middle parts to line them up properly. Okay, now essentially my baby is not going to fall out. They've got fresh air flow here, their face hasn't been covered so they can breathe totally. They're upright, they're snuggled. So if you stop here, this is fine, the baby is secure. But if you want to optimize how they're sitting, so they're sitting back in that knees up, bum down kind of arrangement, which is way better for their hips, take a moment. You might want to lean forward a bit, use gravity to loosen things up a bit to help move things around. And what I'm doing, so you can either lean forward or you might be able to do it while they're upright. So we are bringing their knees up. As you can see, now I've got a little bit loose under here, so I'm just going to bring it round, tighten it up. Okay, so now we have, there we go, we have a look side on. She has got that beautiful curve, and then her under her butt goes up to her knees, and now her thigh bones are pointing down into her hips, so you've got gravity helping to make sure that her leg bones are sitting in her hip junctions really beautifully, and you've got that lovely curve on her spine. She is snuggled into me. Her head can't flop around because it's all snuggled into me, and it's locked in a pretty good position because of her big curve of her spine. So this is looking really good. This baby's currently looking that way. Sometimes they just want to keep their nose into your boob. One of the reasons why we have them high is so that they're not actually nosing into your squishy boobs. They are actually on the hard bony part of your chest, as you can hear here, so they are still free to breathe, and there's little curves around their nose is going to work beautifully. So if they do go nose in, just keep your hand there. You can feel their breathing. If they can breathe, it's fine, or they might want to snuggle this way. So there we go. And if I haven't shown you yet already, how do you get them out? If you need to release, you just take this the bottom one, and you just tilt it upwards, and now that just releases everything, and you can take your child out whichever way you prefer.